Hi, welcome to the kitchen. I'm Chef John Tapper, and today's topic in the kitchen, we're gonna be making Gouda grits. We did have someone write in. Last week we made a video on etouffee, and I mentioned how they go well with grits and other foods. So Bill from Kansas City, Kansas wrote in, what are grits and how do I prepare them? So I can't remember everything, so I wrote it down. Grits is a food by boiling corn, usually served with other flavorings and most popular in the southern United States. It has a Native American background and is similar to thick porridges and also polenta. If you've ever had polenta, Italian polenta is also made from corn grits as well. So today we're going to go through all the steps to making grits, so stay tuned. Thank you. Now to start making our grits, you want to get your ingredients together, and these are our local stone ground grits. And these are yellow corn, and as you can see, these are perfect for this demo because they're what you would call farm fresh. These things are dirty, they're stone ground, they're right off the farm, and it's gonna make a perfect subject matter for this video because you gotta rinse your grits, you gotta soak them and get the bran off the top. So we're gonna start with 2 quarts of our local stone ground grits. Here we have 1 pound of butter, we got a gallon of whole milk. Whole fat milk is going to work the best for this application. 4 quarts of homemade chicken stock. You can use store-bought if that's what you have. We have 1 quart of Parmesan cheese. Try to use a finely ground variety. Here we have a tablespoon and a half of white pepper. We're just going to use white pepper, that way it doesn't pepper up our grits, little black specks. Here's 4 tablespoons of kosher salt. And here's the star of our show, smoked Gouda grits. We got 2 pounds of shredded Gouda cheese. Now this cheese is partially pasteurized, it's partially processed, but that's what you want for this application. It's gonna melt down better and it's not gonna break inside your grits. And for equipment, we need just 1 large stock pot and also 1 Lexan, that way we can rinse our grits. So the next step, we're just gonna go ahead and rinse and soak our grits. And you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. We're just gonna get these in the water. Just go ahead and pour the grits directly in there, and it's okay to use cold water. And what we're going to do is we're just going to stir these around. You can use your hand, that's fine too. So we're going to stir these grits around. We're going to put a bunch of water in there and let the bran float to the top. We're going to scoop that off, make sure our grits are 100% rinsed, and then we can begin to cook them. So this stage is super important. If you don't do this stage, you're gonna have grits that are chewy, and they're also gonna be discolored and dirty and just not very attractive. So make sure to do this step, and we'll continue on. So this is exactly why you wanna rinse your grits. As you can see, the bran floated to the top. That's the chewy, undesirable part of the grits. And the part that we wanna eat, the germ, has floated to the bottom, and all this murky water in the middle, that's what we need to rinse off. As you can see, some of the particles that we want to eat are still floating to the bottom, and what we want to do is let this settle for a few minutes. Then after that, we're going to scoop off the bran, get rid of the dirty water, and then rinse these nice grits that we have here at the bottom. That's what we want to eat, and that's what we want to serve our customers. So the next part's relatively simple. We're just gonna take our whole milk, we're gonna get that in the stock pot. Don't be shy, just give it some gusto and get it all in there. There we go. So like I said, we'll start with a gallon of whole milk. Next, we're gonna add our 4 quarts of chicken stock. Now this chicken stock I freeze. I make them in large batches and freeze them, so it's partially frozen, but it doesn't matter. Just go ahead and get that in the pot. It's right here. So whole milk chicken stock, we're gonna add our kosher salt, our 4 tablespoons of kosher salt at this phase, and also our 1.5 tablespoons of white pepper. So get that going on the burner. We're gonna stir it up, bring it to almost a boil. Then we're gonna add our pound of butter and our grits. So now we brought this milk, chicken stock, and seasonings to a simmer, and we're gonna go ahead and add the grits. We're gonna add that butter, but I want to show you the grits. Look how nice these are after you rinse them. You can see there's a dramatic color difference They're a very, very bright yellow. So we got all the industrial waste off there, all the waste from the grinding process, and all the farm grime that goes along with it. So they look beautiful. So be careful. We're just gonna go ahead and add these. And I like to use my hand because it's gonna splash up on you. Go ahead and give your strainer a tap. And we'll just go ahead, we'll plunk this whole thing of butter in there. And what we want to do now during the cooking process is cook these grits on very low heat, extremely low heat, for about 40 minutes. 40 minutes or so, and then we're gonna go ahead, we're gonna add our final seasonings and also our cheese. We're about 15 minutes in. We've been cooking our grits on extremely low heat, and I wanted to show you, you can see that the grits are starting to cook, they're starting to take on shape and absorb all that nice cooking liquid. And one thing I wanted to add, zoom in a little closer, maybe I can stir them up, you can see a little better, is when you're cooking these grits for the 40 minutes, you also want to stir them about every 2 minutes so you don't stick them to the bottom of the pan. That'd be your worst enemy. You just don't want to burn them to the bottom of the pan, otherwise you got to start over. Nobody wants to start over. So, like I said, 15 minutes in, we'll be right back. We're going to add the cheese and show you a completed dish. So it's been 45 minutes, and here's where all the waiting and anticipation comes into play. Our grits are basically fully cooked. So we're gonna begin to season them. We're gonna go ahead, we're gonna add a cup of heavy cream. The reason we wanna do that in the end is because we don't want the grits to turn brown during the cooking process, and the cream will actually help it turn brown. We're gonna add a half a cup of sugar to sweeten it. And to stir those two things together, nicely like that. We're gonna add our quart of Parmesan cheese, finely grated. And that's gonna give it a nice creaminess when we get it on the plate. A little bit sharper of a flavor too. So we'll get that in, and I can see how they call it porridge because it's starting to resemble a nice thick porridge now. And lastly, we're going to add our 2 pounds of shredded smoked Gouda cheese. And that's going to give it the smokiness that we're looking for in the dish too. So we got smokiness, we got creaminess, we got sweet. And it all comes together to make a really nice, delicious pot of grits. When I first had grits, I had them in New Orleans. I did my internship there. Truthfully, I didn't like them because I didn't understand them. I didn't know how to cook them. But when you flavor them with cheese and other flavorings, it makes a very great product. So we're gonna cook this for another 5 minutes, stirring constantly to melt that cheese, and then we'll show our completed dish. So now it's time to show you a completed dish. And I chose beef. I just want to show you how versatile these grits actually are. So we're just going to get them on the plate, do a nice little push. And it's kind of nice because it works as a starch and also a sauce. So I chose to go with beef. I'm just going with some nice little filet medallions that I sous vide, and I just let them rest. So we'll go ahead and we'll put those right in the center. Just keep it true and simple. Just gonna have these nice peppers, onions, and shallots. Just gonna put some on top. Just like that, and it wouldn't be thoroughbreds if we didn't have some microgreens to go in the center there as well. So as you can see, it makes a beautiful dish. Grits, I can speak to how versatile they are.
how wonderful they are. In the restaurant, we do a shrimp and grits. We do them a la carte, so you can get them on the side, and they just work very well for every application. So hopefully this answers your question, Bill. That's about everything I know about grits, how to cook them, how to utilize them, and they're great. If you know what you're doing, they're awesome. So again, thanks for watching Food Fox. Chef John Tapper II, and we'll share more videos. Thanks for watching.